Hey amigos, I've got a special episode for you today. I think this episode will resonate with most of you. So thanks everyone for tuning in. You are listening to the English Made Simple show. This is episode number 213, number 213. Número 213. I had to look at my notes. I almost forgot that number, 13. Alright guys, welcome guys and girls. So welcome to the English Made Simple show. My name is Milena and you can find me at englishmadesimple.net, englishmadesimple.net. That's where I live. That's my place. Okay, cool. Today's episode has been brought to you by a special video I created for you on pronunciation. For those of you who struggle with English pronunciation, I believe this video will open your eyes and ears to English pronunciation. We talk about the International Phonetic Alphabet inside the video. I also talk about the audio masterclass that's about to start on January 21st. Simply go to englishmadesimple.net/speak to watch the video. Thank you. All right, amigos y amigas. This week I'm in Melbourne visiting family and looking after our family cat called Bella. Yes. You can see some images of Bella the cat on my Instagram feed. Sometimes she pops up. Sometimes I share photos of Bella in there. All right, I'm also looking for someone to help me out with social media like Facebook and Instagram, as I have been too preoccupied at the moment to post anything on Facebook or Instagram. So please be patient, amigos. I will be posting on it soon. So what I would like to do today is talk about my student from last year, the one I had last year. Her name is Rim and she is from France. Thanks, Rim, for allowing me to talk about your lessons in here. I'd like to share them with our listeners, with other listeners, because I think it will help some people out there who have the same problem or similar problem when speaking in English. And I'm going to explain what that problem was. So the outline of our coaching or our coaching program that we did together is very, very similar to the audio masterclass that I'm running on pronunciation that's going to happen on the 21st of January. Now, I've done this with a few students who have found it extremely helpful. I've run this similar program with a few more students, and they found it extremely helpful because they were able to work at their own pace, because I know we are all busy with our daily commitments. You know, we all have work, family, and so on. We all have these mundane tasks we have to do and complete every day. I know how that can be. So let me just hop into the time machine and travel back to October last year, 2018. That's not far. That wasn't a long time ago, was it? Okay, now Rim approached me in September or October, I think, last year, and she said this. I'm just going to kind of paraphrase and I'm going to read her message to me. She reached out to me. She said, "Hi Milena, I hope you're fine. I'm Rim from France. I want to improve my English conversation and I do not know how. I am an assistant professor in economics and I often present my work at international conferences. I prepare my presentations, so in general it's fine, but when it comes to answering questions, I don't easily find the right words. So expressing my ideas becomes very hard and this stresses me a lot. Can you help me with that? By the way, I am a big fan of your work and your podcasts." Great. Awesome. I was reading this and I was really impressed. Rim has a really good command of English. She even teaches some classes at her university in English. So I was thinking, how can I help Rim? You know, how can I help her? Her English is fine. I understand everything she wrote. Her writing is excellent. However, later down the track, I found out that the problem was that when she would present her research and findings in English, because that's not her first language, when she would present this to a group of audience who may not all be French speakers, so they're international, they could be from various backgrounds or may even be from different universities around Europe. So She would be confident presenting in English because she's confident of her research. She doesn't have problems presenting in English. She would have written the whole research by herself, right? So she would know it inside out. So there's no problem when she's presenting in English. But when it came to audience asking her questions, then she found it difficult to find the right words and she found it difficult to approach her answers. She said that she would get tongue-tied and she would be lost for words. And this started to stress her out when she needed to express her ideas in English. Rim's area of expertise, by the way, is economics, and I was very curious to learn about her research. So I was very delighted to have her as my student. I had some questions around cryptocurrency, online businesses, and property markets, and so on. I was very curious about these things, and I wanted to know what her thoughts were on those. I felt like she was training me sometimes on this stuff. I had learned a lot together with Rim as well. So Rim and I had an initial consultation or a chat just to find out how I could help her, and I found out that perhaps we need to practice certain phrases to help her think on her feet, because her writing is really good. Her listening is also really good. So it was more about speaking and having a kind of like a flowing conversation with someone, which basically meant that we needed to practice certain phrases to help her think on her feet. That's an expression, by the way, to think on one's feet. When you are unprepared, you start to improvise and you have to think on your feet. That's what it means. So when you start to think on your feet and you have to speak at the same time, it is harder to do it in a language that's not your own, that's not your native language. I can empathize with this a lot. I can empathize with this wholeheartedly. I've been in these situations, especially when I had to give presentations at my previous jobs that I had in the past. I had to give presentations in English in front of executives, and yeah, that can really be stressful. Anyhow, so this is what we did. We worked for just over 4 weeks together, and we identified a few things. So Rim wanted to be held accountable when working together. She wanted to be held accountable when completing tasks. So we had to have kind of deadlines and say, okay, do this by this date, so that we know it's going to be done. And we kept in constant communication together so that she could achieve those tasks. The main problem we wanted to solve for Rim was to be able to answer questions confidently and clearly. That was what we were aiming for. So I identified that we needed to structure our answers in a certain way, because as I have found out through speaking with Rim, she needed help with thinking on her feet and being able to answer questions. So I identified that we needed to structure our answers in a certain way. For example, when somebody asks you a question, you acknowledge the person who is asking you the question. And in that way, you can gain yourself more time to think of what your answer to that question should be. So I found a way of kind of buying time so that Rim could prepare her answer and think well on her feet. And throughout our coaching together, we used an online voice recorder. So she had to practice a little bit of recording. It was like doing podcasts, you know. She had to be a little bit uncomfortable there. So we used an online voice recorder. So she would record an answer. I would send her a question. She would send me a recording of her answer, and then I would evaluate it. I would listen to her recording and provide my feedback and suggestions so she can use them for the next time. An interesting thing happened during our coaching together. Rim asked how she could improve her vocabulary so that she didn't have to always repeat words in her answers. She didn't have to use repetitive words. So we started something called synonyms document. So all the words we found that Rim was repeating or had a tendency to repeat, we found different ways to say those words, or we found different ways to structure sentences. So that way she would expand her vocabulary with different phrases and words to make her sound more fluent in her answer. So by creating this synonyms document, we basically worked on expanding Reem's vocabulary with different phrases and words to make her sound more fluent when the time came to answering questions. And we didn't only work on the vocabulary stuff, but we also worked on pronunciation, because I think that's also an important component because she was doing presentations, so she had to focus on that as well. For example, we worked on learning how to pronounce regular verbs to help her enunciate those words correctly, so that she could use them confidently when she's giving her presentations. This helped her sound much clearer when she spoke. So now she knows how to pronounce regular verbs, and she's more confident now when she's speaking or doing presentations. So as we were working together, I have noticed that her recordings, her audio recordings that she would send me every week sounded way different compared to the very first recording that she sent. I definitely heard improvement in her voice, her tone, and her vocabulary. After our coaching together, Reem felt even more empowered to present on her next research. Looking back before my coaching with Reem, I already had this idea of audio masterclass, this new way of learning, and I had the idea of how I wanted to teach this in a way that is going to work for both my students but also for me as well. It is a new way of working, so if you check out englishmadesimple.net/masterclass, I have a little diagram that explains how this works. So this is a new way of working, as I said, with my students that allows us to be flexible with our time when completing our exercises. The best of all, you wouldn't be driving anywhere and getting stuck in traffic, okay? So you wouldn't be attending any classes, face-to-face classes. You don't have to drive or fly anywhere. You don't have to fly to Australia to do this. We can do this remotely. You do all of your exercises at home. I provide you a personalized feedback so you know where you need to improve. So essentially how this would work is I would give you weekly exercises that you can complete at home, and I would then provide you with a personalized feedback so you know where you would need to improve for next time. So if you're struggling with communicating in English, answering questions like Reem, or doing any type of presentations in English, perhaps you feel embarrassed to speak in English overall, just send me a message at englishmadesimple.net/contact and I can maybe help you figure out if Masterclass is right for you or if we need to do any private coaching together. And when you do contact me at englishmadesimple.net/contact, I will reply to your message within 2 days. Or if you'd like to try this new way of learning, if you just want to give it a go, give it a try, join me inside the audio masterclass at englishmadesimple.net/masterclass. Cool bananas, amigos y amigas. I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. I just want to thank Reem for allowing me to talk about our lessons together on the podcast. Cool. Thanks again for joining me today. Hope you have an awesome week. You have been an amazing audience, as always. And you've been jamming with Milena from English Made Simple. Have an awesome rest of the week. Until next time, hasta la próxima.